Andrew Berry has been listening, and Project Stockpile is well on its way to starting the 2026 season. And I couldn't be more excited because we actually talking about ball right now. We talking about football. We talking about moves. And the Cleveland Browns made a move where they were supposed to make one. What we should be talking about is up front in the trenches. The Cleveland Browns get Tytus Howard, your starting left or right or center or whatever. He going to play wherever you can play, but chances are he's going to play on the right side. We will break this down. We got a great show planned for you. The Browns make a move. They got it for the Minimoski. They got it for the low, and they extended them. We'll break everything down in this trade. We'll also talk about a little bit about Shedeur Sanders. Shelby Harris is standing on business. The veterans are too. And Deshaun Watson, he's been moving around. We're going to talk about Deshaun Watson. He's moving around. The videos is out. He's moving around. He's running now. We'll talk about all those things in the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. You already know what it is. It's your boy G. Bush, and it's the Ultimate Browns. Welcome to the Ultimate Browns. We're not going to waste no time. We're going to get right into this. Cleveland Browns make a very big splash move. They go and trade a 5th-round pick for Tytus Howard, and we're going to talk about why this is so important, because this has implications when it comes to the draft, has implications when it comes to free agency, and as I've always talked about it, this year is about stockpiling. We need talent up front. We need talent on the perimeter and guys getting downfield. We'll talk about this, and it broke right before we went on UCSS. Ian Rappaport broke it. The Texans and the Browns have agreed to terms on a trade to send starting right tackle Tytus Howard to Cleveland in exchange for a 5th-round pick. Now, not only did they send him over there for the 5th-round pick, but they also extended him a much-needed offensive line help up front, and he gets a new 3-year extension in the deal done, and it was worth $63 million. So the Cleveland Browns did what they needed to do, and they went out there and got them a starting tackle. Now you take a look at this, what they had and what they were moving with, and Daniel Oyefusi talked about this. And if you don't think this is an upgrade, because a lot of times people don't be looking at it, they always look at it, oh, well, I mean, was he really that good? If the Texans let him go, does that really mean that the Browns stop all the noise? Let me just tell you something. As a dude who makes his money in the trenches, who looks at the guys up front, Daniel Oyefusi talks about, he says, new Browns offensive line, Tytus Howard started 16 games at right tackle. He also started at left guard and right guard this past season. Most of his career snaps have come at right tackle, but the versatility is an extra bonus for the Cleveland Browns. Look at when you talk about his win rates as a tackle, 52-68 in pass block win rate, 49-69 in run block win rate. Now, you take a look at what that meant in terms of what that was going against other people. When you look at the situation and his win rate in terms of what he was doing compared to what they were, compared to what other people were giving up, it was night and day. Let's take a look at what Daniel says in terms of his quick pressures, the win rates in terms of the quick pressures, the fast pressures given up. I really think that when you take a look at it, let me put this up here. New Browns offensive lineman Tytus Howard's tackle snaps. They talked about that as before, but take a look at what the next gen stat says. Howard's 4.9 pressure rate allowed and 1.0% quick pressure rate. Now compare that to the pressure rate for Cam Robinson, which was 17.2. KT Levinson's pressure rate, 14%. Jack Conklin, 16% pressure rate. And DeJuan Jones, 11.7. Look at the quick pressures, right? The quick pressure rates is the things that really get you, is because those are the olays, the whiff blocks, the up and unders, the which way did it go, George type joints. Those are the ones that give you the quick pressure, and it's the lookout blocks because your quarterback might be looking out, look out below. And you look at what he did, 1%, we'll take 1%. But look at Cam Robinson, 4.4. KT Levinson, 4.1. You take a look at Jack Conklin, 6%. And DeJuan Jones, 7.4 quick pressure rating. So when you talk about this, I look at it as a bona fide move. When you can get this for a 5th round pick, and there was no, if you take a look at the offensive tackle market in terms of free agency, there isn't guys that are really like names out there. Some of the top names happen to be Jack Conklin. Some of the top names are the dudes that you're letting go. So to be able to go out in the 5th round and get a guy like this for a 5th round pick and then be able to extend him, now you put yourself in a situation where you got flexibility in free agency. Don't let you go back out here and get you another guy to plug and play. Now you take a look at, is Joe Bitonio still on the books? We'll figure out March 10th when that comes up, whether or not he's going to retire or not. But either way, you don't really count on DeJuan Jones. And Tony Grossi, he had a comment on this, and I thought this was another decent comment that you got to talk about. Grossi says Browns trade for right tackle Tytus Howard means left tackle remains a priority unless the Browns sign a starter in free agency or a trade. If Joe Bitonio returns at left guard, we'll know March 10th. The Browns have 2 dependable veteran starters on hand. That's very big. That is key, because now when you got 5 positions ready to go and you got 5 positions that you need to fill, the more you can fill with veterans, not rookies. See, the Cleveland Browns thought we wasn't coming out there with 7, 8, 10 rookies. That wasn't going to happen. I love the fact that it's a veteran, a guy who's played snaps, a guy that could play in guard if you want that position. It gives you more flexibility. He also goes and says it possibly exists on moving DeJuan Jones inside. So you think about it. If DeJuan Jones is not going to be a guy that can move and bend out there out wide, you may have an opportunity where you can move him inside and move him as a guard. So those are some options that you have with that. And also, and we'll talk about it a little bit here, it gives you more options and flexibility in your draft. Because now if you have a tackle, you don't have to have Lomu. You don't have to have Maui Noga out there. If those guys aren't high on your board, you can potentially take those guys and say, all right, well, listen, we can move them. We can draft later on. Maybe we like Dunker. Maybe we like some other guys, the guard from Penn State. Maybe we can get him later on in the draft. If you don't have Maui Noa as a top flight tackle on the right-hand side, you don't have to reach for him. Chris Rose talks about the same thing. For the Browns fans saying nothing changes with Howard, the trade, it actually does. If you play him at right tackle, that probably knocks Maui Noa out. So if you're going to start him at right tackle, are you going to draft Maui Noa as a guard at number 6? It feels like Fano is it feels like a guard. And Fano, to me, I talked about it on UCSS. He's thin dinner. I don't know if he has the base to deal with bull rushes. He gets knocked back a lot. He to me is not a finished product, and I don't think he gets enough movement in the run game. He's more of a position blocker. So Fano feels like a guard. No left tackle is worth taking that high according to personnel he spoke to at the draft. And if you look at some of the draft and the different things we talk about, most of the guys that are a left tackle, it has been a thin tackle draft. I'm not going to talk myself into a tackle, but you put yourself in a position where you can do a couple of things, as we'll talk about coming up here. You may be able to put yourself in a position, and I know I'll have Sean King on the barbershop coming up here in a couple of days, and we'll talk about it. But man, people have been saying, my dad hit me up, listen, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Bailey, you look at all these studs on the defensive side of the football. Could you possibly go best available? Still a need for offensive linemen, but which ones may shift? I totally agree with that, because now you may get back and you may say, all right, if the tackles aren't going high, I feel much more comfortable targeting the guard in the high second round. Late first, maybe. I'm not going to take a tackle in the top 6, but that puts you in a position where now, if you can go out and you can move around on the board, you can move around on the draft board, and you can tell yourself, all right, maybe I like Tate, Tyson, and Lemon. If I can get one of those guys and some of these defenders fall, is there on the board ready and available at 6, maybe some team wants to move up and make a move. God forbid that you sit there and you get one of these dudes that fall to you and you feel like you can move with them. If you decide to say, I'm going to go out and trade for me a Chris Olave, I'm going to go out and trade for me a Marvin Harrison Jr., and you got your number 1 receiver, you got a right tackle, you may address more things and more needs in free agency, maybe a Romeo Doubs you can get. Now, all of a sudden, you're looking at Romeo Doubs, you're looking at Marvin Harrison, you got Jerry Jeudy, you got Harold Fannin Jr., you still got Isaiah Bond, you got Tytus Howard on the right-hand side, you get a guard. Now, all of a sudden, you cooking with gas here. You're cooking with gas. Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan, he said, I did two different mock drafts to show the flexibility the Cleveland Browns now have after Tytus Howard was traded for. There is so much talent in the wide receiver and tight end room. Adjusted second one for more randomness and positional value. So what I did is I went in and took a look at this, and he's right. One of the things that I like what he was able to do with this is show that because you now have a tackle, because you do have that, and you have, solidified that position, now look at the other different position groups that you may be able to obtain if you do decide to go in this draft. And this is according to Pro Football Focus. So with this one, you were able to get Carnell Tate at round one, pick number 6. You got Caleb Lamu, not Spencer Fano. That's the other. Caleb Lamu is the other tackle, right? You still can get him. They got him rated pretty high. You can get him at 24, right? And take a look at it. You now have a tackle. You now have another top flight receiver. And then in the round 2, you still got Omar Cooper, excuse me. Jake Slaughter is one of the top centers on the board, right? Look at what you're able to get to what this in terms of what this draft looks like. Lorenzo Styles, I like that pick. Round 6, you got him, a guy that's running a 4.3. So that's just one look at what you could possibly do if you get a little creative, and now that you have some things going on with your tackle. Let's take a look at the second of the mock drafts. Right here, you got Francis Mauigoa. You could take him, and if you got Tytus Howard, you could move him to guard. Don't let Batonio come back. You could potentially have Luke Whippler at center. You can have you still have Mauigoa at guard. You have Tytus Howard at tackle. You got DeJuan Jones. Hopefully, maybe he comes back and he can be a guy that can mix in there with you. And then you still get Makai Lemon at 24. So now you got a slot receiver that can move around. The guard, Emmanuel Pregnon, is another guy. Look at the value at that. So you do get a guard, you get a tackle. Max Clare, tight end, had better numbers at Purdue. I think he was just in Ohio State's offense. Max Clare was a monster at tight end. You need another tight end. You got Harold Fannin Jr., but Max Clare, take a look at what he was doing coming out of Pittsburgh. Not Purdue. You got people. Roman Hemby, look at that running back in the 7th round. Look at that, still available. Come on now. See, so what you're seeing is what you can do now that you have a tackle in the fold. Now that you have a guy that you can not just you got a veteran that you can do something with. So now what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to look around, and you're going to be able to find a lot of different steals that you can get, and we haven't even talked about free agency yet. This is what happens when you can get people and you can put them in place. Project Stockpile is alive and well. We ready to get to it. Andrew Berry. Get ready for the Andrew Berry eyes. Get ready for the Andrew Berry eyes. We are finally to a place where we're talking about getting what we need to get. 1 lineman down, maybe 6 to go. We're going to continue to talk about that. We'll get to the receivers. But when we get back, Shelby Harris and the vets, they've been making it loud and clear. They rocking and rolling with Shedeur Sanders. We'll talk about why I believe the locker room is completely behind him. And you're going to see this more and more and more as time goes on and as camp comes in and as he gets to learn the playbook. I feel that the locker room will put the stamp of approval on Shedeur Sanders. We'll come back and talk about it when we get back on the fastest 30 minutes in all sports. You know what it is. It's the Ultimate Browns. Spring training is right upon us. Man, if you want the best baseball, you want the best baseball breakdowns, Zach Meisel, Adam the Bull, Ultimate Guardians. The Guardians looking to make some moves, man. Looking to make some moves. I want to go with the youth movement. I'm trying to see all the young dudes. Give me the Kafises. Give me the Valeras. When is Bazana coming up, man? Let's get to it. When is DeLauder? He going to stay healthy? Get ready. It might be a youth movement in Cleveland, and I'm all for it. If you want to know what's going on in spring training and heading into opening day, the place to be is the Ultimate Guardians. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in all the sports. It's G. Bush right here with the Ultimate Browns. Shelby Harris, he has not been shy about his affinity for Shedeur Sanders. Right now, we've been hearing a lot coming out of the combine. We've been hearing a lot of people saying it's Anthony Richardson and it's Malik Willis. What you're going to see, guys, and I'm going to actually tell you about this, is as this thing continues to work its way out, you're going to start to see more and more people kind of come around. You're going to start to see more and more people come to the conclusion that Cleveland Browns is going to roll with the guys in that locker room. I fully expect Shedeur Sanders to be a starter week one. I expect Deshaun Watson to be the backup. They may bring in another quarterback, may draft in the 5th round, 4th round, somewhere in that range to compete with Dylan Gabriel. But at the end of the day, I do think that this is Shedeur Sanders' job to lose. So why would I say that? Well, we talk about Myles Garrett talks about it. He just talked about it the other week. He talked about him being the guy. As a matter of fact, here's Myles Garrett talking about it, and we'll go from that, and we'll get to him first, and then get to Shelby Harris.
4 quarterbacks, the challenges. Do y'all have the guy? Is Shedeur the guy?
That's what we're looking at as a guy. We're going to give him a shot to prove that he's a guy. So we're not going to give anyone that title until they go out there and earn it. And he was the last person to be on the field, and he showed some flashes. So we're going to give him an opportunity to show what we can really do, uncork the ball.
Yeah, you paying another guy $46 billion. Is he going to get a shot?
I feel like everyone on the roster is going to get a shot. Now, he was the last guy on the field, so he's obviously going to get first service. And, Deshaun, whoever else on the roster, they're going to get a real look.
You're going to get them first serving. Speaking of that $40 million quarterback, stick around. We got some highlights of his $40 million. He's moving around. People are saying, hey, he's moving around. Deshaun Watson, hold on, we'll get to that as well. But look, he said he's going to get them first servings. I expect it. And by the way, Myles Garrett, the coaching staff, everybody's been on point. Everybody's been on messaging. They've all looked like they've talked about it. Hey, man, listen, nobody should be out here giving anything. You're going to have to earn it like everybody else. But at the end of the day, he has a great opportunity to do so. Now, talk about Shelby Harris. Shelby Harris has been outspoken and one of the guys in the locker room saying how they putting it down. Let's take a look at what Shelby Harris has to say in terms of, Shedeur Sanders and why he's standing on business.
I was highly impressed with the kid. I believe that he definitely got the short end of the stick. Everyone made all these big deals about stuff that it was out of his control. He can't control who his dad is. But the one thing I will say is that Shedeur works. He works his ass off.
You did?
And he takes the time to get to hang out with his teammates, which I think is extremely important, especially when you're a young quarterback, because it's all about building those relationships with the players and building that time with them so that when it is crunch time, you know how hard I've been working to get here. You've seen it. I hate the narrative that goes around about Shedeur, because Shedeur, all he does is go in and work. And if anything, you got to give Deion credit for that. He taught him how to work. Yeah. He taught him how to handle himself at work.
So, for me, I take a look at that, and I always you'll hear a lot of people say, well, I talk to different people around the league. well, I talked to it's people at the combine and scouts and people. And the thing that I always tell people, a lot of that is just, conjecture and this noise, and ain't no football games going on. So what you can't talk about the same thing every single day. But the thing that, is levels to this. Am I going to take what Myles Garrett and Shelby Harris is talking about, or what Todd Monken says, or I'm going to pay attention to anonymous guys who are saying how the guys around the league don't think anybody would take him in the first round. Listen, first of all, I don't know what y'all. I don't care nothing about the fraternity of guys around the league. I'm into understanding what the Cleveland Browns do. I do ultimate Browns, not ultimate around the league. I don't do a water cooler scouts around ultimate or water cooler scouts for 300. No, I don't do that. Like, that's cool. That's nice jargon. That's something to talk about when you're at the country club or when you're talking about things in your group chats with guys around the league. Bro, we don't work for guys around the league. I don't root for guys around the league. I don't know who these nondescript scouts are. I don't root for anybody else. I root for the Browns. And so what I'm going to take is, what are my guys in my locker room saying? What are the guys that really are involved saying? What are the guys that are running, lifting, working, doing everything every single day and trying to get everything together and to win football games? I'm going to take what they say. They're on record saying it. It's levels to this. Bro, it's a difference between what Myles Garrett and Shelby Harris, guys that are defenders who've been looking for a quarterback, who've been looking for somebody to get him some points, to put some points on the board. Denzel Ward, I'm going to take what they're going to say. I'm going to take all the rest of that stuff is all right, I guess. Hey, I feel it. Hey, man, whatever floats your boat, man. But one thing that Todd Monken has always said is the guys and the people and the players choose the players. The people in the locker room know who the leader is. People know who's going to be up next. They get it. They understand it, right? So for me, I take a look at it. I always find it funny. We are where we are right now. It's what? It's March 2nd, and we ain't got no football to talk about. But the thing that I'm starting to be excited about is actually a lot of this stuff is starting to fall off. People know you ain't getting no Anthony Richardson. People know you're not getting no Malik Willis. But what you're starting to see is the Cleveland Browns making moves other places. Offensive line we talked about. Wide receivers is another thing. I'm looking for Andrew May. Make me another trade. Get me another dude in here. Because the more and more you start to look at this thing, the more and more it starts to look like, hey, man, this might be something that I can work with. We might be able to do something with this. Speaking of being able to work with something, Deshaun Watson. We ain't heard from him in a long time, but we did get the chance to see him. Deshaun Watson, is he going to be able to compete for a starting role? I'll tell you what I think his role is on this team coming back, and you be the judge. Is he on the mend? Because he's out here running around. We'll come back and talk about it right here on the fastest 30 minutes in all the sports. It's your boy, G. Bush, with the Ultimate Browns. Make sure Cavs season is locked and loaded. James Harden has come back from a broken thumb, playing good basketball, just beat the Nets the other day. Looking forward to the Knicks game coming up here in a couple of days, and as well as a revenge game on the Detroit Pistons. If you want to know all the things going on with the Ultimate Cavaliers, make sure you check it out. It's Ultimate Cavaliers. Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets, they do a good job over there. Make sure when the playoffs get ready to go, don't be lost in the sauce. Make sure you're checking out the Ultimate Cavaliers, as well as Ultimate 216, my brother Earl the Pearl, him, Cecil, all the guests he got going on over there. Make sure you check out that, and make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel so you never miss when we are dropping our latest content right here on the UCSS network. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in the sports. It's G. Bush with Ultimate Browns. One of the things that we talk about is Deshaun Watson. You know, Deshaun Watson is a guy who you haven't heard from. And I like to call it, he's the ultimate scapegoat. When we talk about what's wrong with the Cleveland Browns, most people like, oh, Deshaun Watson. He got injured. It was a travesty. It was devastating. We lost picks. And the Browns have been terrible because they couldn't. We get it. Deshaun Watson is on the mend. he has put out a couple of videos. A couple of months ago, he was throwing the football, and everybody said, yeah, that's cool. You know, you had an Achilles injury. We ain't worried about when you're throwing the ball, even though you did have a shoulder injury. We worried about what you're looking like with the running. So Deshaun Watson said, oh, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Let's take a look at what Deshaun Watson looks like, because now he's out here running around and he got the football. Let's see what he looks like. Cutting up a little bit. Let's bring that back. Hold on. Let's bring it back. Deshaun Watson are you cutting? Let me see how you cutting. He ain't got a brace on, nothing. Let's see. Okay. I ain't seen no hobble. Bring it back. Let me see if I get it. Is it a hobble? Let me see this cut you just made. Let me see. Okay. He running a little bit. You can still tell. You can still tell he a couple months away though. You know what I'm saying? He's doing some lateral cutting. I partially tore my Achilles heel, so I kind of understand what that's supposed to look like and what the rehab is with that. So he looks pretty good. But it isn't. They're ramping him up. Right now it's March. Camp starts in about July, August. He has a couple months to go, and you can really take the last couple of months, really take some strides to get you where you need to go. So, from June to July to August, that's 2 months right there. I think he'll be ready to go. So it looks like, he's been, he's a full year and some change removed from it. And it looks like he's going to be out there ready to go. So shows a little mobility. So here's the thing with Deshaun Watson. You take a look at it. I fully expect Deshaun Watson to be the backup quarterback this year. And, and you heard it here first. Deshaun Watson, when you take a look at it, a lot of people had these pipe dreams of moving on from Deshaun Watson, and you were just going to take this cap hit. It was never going to happen. The way the Cleveland Browns financials were set up, they needed his cap space in order to make the team better. By the way, I think, to be honest with you, I think Jimmy Haslam was committed to making sure that he got another opportunity to go somewhere else and play. A lot of people don't want to see it like that, but I'm just going to be honest with you. He is expensive. His contract wasn't going to be able to be moved. And if you take a look at his track record, if you really want to keep it real with yourself, the guy who has the most success in his past, the guy who the reclamation project, if you look at his stats and Malik Willis, or his stats and Mac Jones stats, or his stats and Anthony Richardson, or Marcus Mariota, or Kirk, all these guys, none of those dudes were at the height of where Deshaun Watson was. So if you talking about we want to kick the can on somebody, those guys don't even have the same level of backstory that this guy got. So I always fully felt that Deshaun Watson was going to get another opportunity to be a backup. I also thought, and people didn't really necessarily recognize this too. I said it on UCSS today. Malik Willis and Deshaun Watson have the same agent. And if you're Malik Willis and you're Deshaun Watson's agent, I mean, yes, he's already got paid, but they want to get Deshaun Watson somewhere else. They want Deshaun Watson to be able to play some games here, play some preseason games, rehab, be a backup quarterback, show that you can be a mentor, and then have the opportunity to put something on tape to possibly go somewhere else next year to get your opportunity to start again. Now, people may roll their eyes and think about it, but when you Malik Willis, you're taking, like, you got that. And by the way, I'm cool on that. I would rather you go somewhere else where if you Malik Willis, I'm like, bro, put me in Pittsburgh, put me somewhere where I ain't got to be dealing with all the rest of this stuff. Because honestly, a lot of people don't even want to realize it. If you Malik Willis, let's keep it a buck. You is going to get Shedeur Sanders. That Shedeur Sanders pressure can be tough. Ask Kevin Stefanski about it. You come out here because you know if they put you ahead of 12, what it's going to look like. I'm just playing. Here's the thing. I do think Deshaun Watson is going to be on this roster. Remember, I said it here first. People like they have to have a brand new roster of guys, and I'm like, is that necessarily true, guys? I don't think it's necessarily true. They may get another quarterback that may compete with Dylan Gabriel for the third position or third spot on the roster. But in terms of quarterbacks, I think you know what your 1 and 2 quarterbacks going to look like. And if Todd Monken is comfortable with it, then by all means, you keep telling me that if Todd Monken believes it, you got to roll with it. So we'll see how this works. I will say it's going to be a very interesting training camp, to say the least, because this thing is going to be, the way Todd Monken is an old school coach, the way he be talking and keeping it real, Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, we're going to have a lot. Listen, that training camp is going to be packed. And guess who's going to be there? This guy, G. Bush, and we'll make sure that you keep all of the latest right here on the Ultimate Browns. With that being said, you never know where G. Bush might show up, radio, television, or internet. But if you want the fresh cut on sports, I keep the Clippers with me. Have a good rest of your day. And as always, you know what it is. Go Browns.